Hey plant friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new and this is your first time seeing me, my name is Chloe and this is my houseplant channel. If you have not yet subscribed to me, please do so down below. And feel free to check out my other videos, which I'll link down below as well. Today, we are going to be talking about my Monstera collection. And I brought all of my ones that are small enough to be held up on the bed here so that we can kind of go through them. I'll start with kind of my smaller ones and work my way into my bigger, more exciting one towards the end. So please make sure you stay towards the end. And if you like it, give it a thumbs up and comment down below. I love going through reading all your comments. So let's jump right into it. First, let's start with my Thai constellations. So these are like the first kind of Iridium Monstera that I ever got. Let's see, we'll start with this one first. So this is my Monstera Thai constellation. I've had this one for probably about 2 years now, and you can see it's still pretty small. Thai constellations seem to take forever to grow for me. Like, I'll get maybe a couple leaves a year if I'm lucky. Maybe it's just because they're juvenile, but I have no clue. You can see how like little the speckling is, but it kind of gets some good chunky cream variegated pieces on some of the leaves, and we have a new leaf coming in, which is super exciting. It started with just 2 leaves and it actually came to me with root rot, so I had to completely start over with this plant pretty much, and I ended up losing those 2 leaves, and now it is super duper rooted and growing super nice. So all of these leaves have come with me, and this one looks like it's gonna be so cute, and it's probably gonna be a lot bigger than this one. So this is my first Thai constellation. Now let's move on. This is my second Monstera Deliciosa Thai constellation, and this one is a lot bigger. I actually have had it for less time, probably around 1.5 to 2 years as well. And oh my goodness, I love the chunks of cream splash that it has compared to the other one, and it's so much more variegated. This one I got pretty small as well. It was really seedling size, so it's lost a couple of the smaller leaves on the bottom. So these 4 leaves I think have come with me, and this is its newest leaf, which is like pretty good size wise. It's definitely bigger than my hand, and oh my goodness, I cannot wait to see fenestrations with this, but I don't have my hopes up because again, it takes forever. I did put it on this twine pole that I made for it, and it seems to enjoy that, but oh my goodness. So that's the last of my Thai constellations. Next, let's go into some props that I recently did. So these next ones are going to be a couple Monstera Albo props. This first one came from probably my biggest plant that I had. I propagated it to induce more white because like these leaves are just getting way too white. And look, I'm not sure if you can see super well, but it has a new growth point, which is so exciting. These are super duper rooted. I've been rooting them for a couple months now, and I'm just waiting for them to push out like new leaves before I give them to friends or trade them or sell them. But if you head over to my Instagram, if I ever have any of these for sale, I'll post them on my story. That way you can have your chance to own them. They've definitely gotten a lot more expensive since they were when I started collecting them. I don't know, I like things being more accessible for people. This is the top cutting that is totally rooted as well. This newest leaf is so pretty, and I'm actually hoping to chop this guy right here once this aerial root activates so that I can like root it beforehand. I always have a lot more success rooting Albos when I can like root them on the stem first and kind of get it activated so that the transition to soil or whatever I end up putting it in is a lot easier. I have another cutting that I took from the bottom of this guy that I just put in pond, and it's probably gonna die, but it's fine because I have this other plant that I can propagate as well. But that's just like the risk that comes with buying a Monstera. That's just like a wet stick pretty much, or one with a leaf that's not rooted yet, is that you never know if it's gonna make it or not, and these guys can get stressed so easy. So this is another prop, and it's actually starting to push out a new growth point as well, which is super exciting. This one hasn't done anything for a long time, even though it's been super rooted. So I applied Kiki paste, which is an orchid cloning paste that you can also use with some aeroids, and slapped a dollop on there, and it's activating now, which is so exciting. It does have some like weird leaf damage. It was in my greenhouse for a while with not a ton of airflow, so I think that's what caused it, but doing super well now, which is exciting. Oh, okay, lastly, this was not super duper exciting or anything, but this is just the very bottom part of it, super duper rooted. I didn't even like know that this was on the bottom of that plant, and so it's like an extra note that I didn't know that I had. So it has a growth point right there, and I put some Kiki paste on it to activate it, and we'll see what happens. But there's what I'd call a wet stick, but it's like rooted all the way down the pot. Next, let's go. Ooh, okay. So this is my Monstera aurea, one of them I should say, and oh my goodness, how freaking cute is he? Oh my gosh. So this I bought probably like 2 years ago. It's like the December before everything went crazy, and I got it as a wet stick, all like barely rooted, with a little growth point coming out for $100 from a seller that was like secretly selling them, because he's like, put this on the down low. I don't want everyone coming in my DMs and asking me for these plants that I only have a couple. And so I bought it from him, and it is now, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves, and this new leaf, oh my gosh, it's just so stunning. This plant has stayed relatively small and compact for me since I've had it, and the coloring has stayed super gorgeous. Something that's super fun about this plant is that the leaves will come in looking kind of like a normal green Monstera leaf, and then harden to get this beautiful yellow color, and it's just so stunning. I love this plant to death. It is a small form, which means that eventually this like internodal spacing, the space between each leaf, will get larger and longer, but so far it's stayed nice and compact, and it is so cute. I just love this plant so much. Let's go to this aurea. Ugh. This is a temporary resident with me. I recently propagated it, so you can see that I made the cut there. This aurea actually belongs to my friend Brianna. I got the top cutting because we bought this plant together, and it wasn't doing super well. These 2 leaves are both rooted, but my top cutting wasn't rooting at all, and turns out it had aphids, which ate the newest leaf. I have a lot more time on my hands to care for my plants because my girl Brianna is so stinking busy. So I offered to care for this plant until it was rooted and ready to propagate, and it is now that time. So I'm just waiting for her to be ready to get her aurea back, but look how beautiful these leaves are. Like everything you can want in an aurea, this is it. And then it has 2 nodes right there. So super exciting. I'm not sure if she is going to propagate this plant or not, but it's definitely a good specimen for one, and way bigger. Let me go get the top cutting that is mine in just a sec. All right, this absolute cutie is the top cutting of the plant I just showed you guys. So this is another small form, Monstera deliciosa aurea variegata, and oh my goodness. You can tell that this newest leaf is still hardening because it's like kind of a lighter green to darker green, and it'll harden to that bright yellow, and oh my gosh. The reason I wanted to get another aurea was just because that one is so small, my like smaller one I have, and I was just really wanting one that was gonna fenestrate a lot quicker. So when another local girl was selling that big aurea with 3 leaves, Brianna was like, Chloe, do you want to go in on this together? And I was like, heck yes, I do. So I was able to get this for a lot cheaper than I would be if I was to buy it by myself, which is something that I love having local plant friends for. It's to go in on plants together, and then it makes it so much more special because it's like we have the same plant, like sister plants. So this is my top cutting. We'll get out of the deliciosas for a second. This is my Monstera Stanliana, Albo variegata. Let's see if I can show you this without the soil getting all over my bed. This guy has grown pretty well with me. It was originally 2 plants that I had in the pot together. One was a smaller one that was living kind of right on the bottom here, and this one was just so much bigger. It wasn't doing super well, and I originally did not have it on any sort of trellis or anything, so it put out a super long runner with no leaves, which I did propagate and was able to get a few rooted and growing pieces out of, but cutting it back ended up being super good for it because now it is growing out of this top section, beautiful sectoral leaves, and then it's also growing out of this section right here. A little less variegated, but this plant is so cute. I really love it, and I think I might upgrade its pot size soon because it's gotta be about time where the roots are coming out the bottom of this thing. Would you look at that? How did I know? So I'll probably have to repot this guy soon and give him a proper pull, but there is my Monstera, Stanliana, Albo variegata. Next, let's finish the smaller Albos. So this is another Albo that I propagated, and it actually has its first new leaf pushed out. Yay! I was trying to trade a couple of my cuttings for some other plants, and no one wanted this one because of this part where I burned it. And sorry, I was looking outside, my neighbors are outside my window and I hope they don't see me. So no one wanted this one because I had burned it with a grow light on top. So I was like, oh, okay, you know, I'll keep it around, and I got really attached with this one. And this newest leaf is like so perfect. I love this minty section right here. And it's just such a perfect leaf. I feel like mid cuttings take forever to activate their aerial or activate the axillary bud and grow a new leaf, but when this one did after months of not, oh my gosh, it is perfect and so worth it. So I really love this guy, and I don't think I'll be selling or trading him now that he's growing with me. Next, I have this bigger guy. We're getting into the bigger guys now. So, ooh, this is once was a top cutting and is now a super duper rooted plant with 4 leaves and one on the way that I just saw today when I was getting ready for this video, which is so exciting. This one was a top cutting I took because the leaves are just too white, and as soon as I was about to cut it, of course it pushed out this beautiful green leaf, and then this half moon, which is like a perfect half moon. I absolutely love it. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep this greener section. I really like plants that are more balanced variegation wise. So this is just has been so perfect to grow so far, and I really hope it continues to be this way. This next leaf looks like it's gonna be super sectoral, and I'm gonna put a video right up here if I know how to do that, just showing it. But oh my goodness, you guys, this is probably one of my favorite Albos right now. It sits underneath a grow light on my plant shelf, and it's doing so well there, so I'm probably gonna keep it there until it gets way too big. I have it also sitting in this plant from Poti.com, and it is also starting to grow roots out of the bottom, which is why I like to keep a lot of my plants in nursery pots in cash pots because they just root so well. But I am not quite ready to upsize this guy's pot. It's not big enough for me to think it needs that, so I'll keep it in here until I feel like it's ready. Let's move on to my green on green Monstera, which are actually too big to bring up here. So I'll kind of talk about them and show you the video over here or cover the screen. So my green on green Monstera is one of my all-time favorite plants. I love it so much. I got it right before everything went crazy for a steal of a price. They go for an insane amount now. I can't even fathom being able to afford one, from a nursery grower in Florida who gets to see a ton of Monstera seedlings every year for his nursery, and I was able to message him and see if he had any for sale. I had another friend who had bought from him before, and he was like, yes, and I'll give you the same price that I gave to your friend, which ended up being, oh my gosh, so cheap comparatively. So I got it as a 4 or 5 leaf seedling and have grown it ever since then. It is now 2 full plants, and I just absolutely adore them. I can't get enough. I recently repotted my base cutting into an 8-inch pot, which is like almost too small for, or almost too big for, like it's filling up the pot with roots. And I'm so excited to see that grow. It's gotten a little bit less light, and this summer normally it gets a lot of light sitting right in front of my south facing window, but I've had to move it away from the window by about a foot, so it's not getting as direct of sunlight for a majority of the day. I think that has made it not suffer a little bit, but the variegation is not as bright as it is when it was maybe a foot in front of the window. And the reason that I've had to move it is because it's now too big to be sitting in front of the window, so I have to put it a little bit farther back. The variegation's still there. More light doesn't increase the variegation by any means, but it just makes it more intense and bright so you can see it a lot better. This one's another really fun one because it will start out coming like a normal green Monstera leaf, and as it hardens, that's when the variegation comes through. So it's like a fun surprise every single time. Love growing this, will not ever get tired of growing this. Love this plant, wouldn't trade it for the world. But I did trade it for this next plant. I traded the middle cutting for it, and this might just be enough, like might just be small enough for me to hold. So let me go grab it. All right, plant friends. This is the Monstera deliciosa Thrasher Sport. It's a humongous plant. Now this is the newest leaf that it just threw out, and it's not even hardened yet. After months and months and months of growing this thing, you'll have seen my unboxing video of it. It has finally put out a new leaf, and it is gorgeous and humongous. This pot it's in, is probably like a 3-gallon pot that is actually a clear trash can I got from Target and just drilled holes into, and it's rooting out the bottom, which is ridiculous. I spent all this time rooting and not pushing out a leaf, but the new leaf is worth it. I mean, look how big this new leaf is. Compliments to the chef. How freaking stunning. It feels so good to have gotten this plant pest free and rooted and growing well to where now I'm getting this beautiful new leaf. So I'm so excited for this plant. It breaks my heart that I'm gonna have to cut it someday to share with my 2 friends that also went on the trade, but it'll be worth it, and I'm so excited to see what this leaf looks like when it's hardened. So this is my Monstera deliciosa Thrasher Sport in all of its glory. Next, let me show you some of my tinier Monstera, and then we're gonna move to show you the finale of all Monstera, my big plants that I cannot move off my dresser. So let's start with this cutie. This is a Monstera species Peru, variegated. It is so tiny right now, but oh my goodness. They variegate kind of like yellowish, lime greeny, and it is so nice. I actually traded for this as just an unrooted stick, and when it threw out this super variegated new leaf for me, I was like, you're kidding me right now. So I'm absolutely in love with it. They grow up like pretty slow, so if you're trying to get one yourself, I'd say plan to wait for a while, but it is so absolutely adorable. And definitely a lot different than a Monstera deliciosa, I'll tell you that. All right, this last one on the bed is one I literally cannot believe I own. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen my unboxing that I did live of this. I like can't even guess what it would be if it isn't. Shut up. You didn't see that. No one saw that. Oh, this I got in another trade with my plant BFF, Jerry. And oh my gosh, this little tiny guy right here is a variegated Monstera adansonii. I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock that I own this. This another, again, was a partially rooted wet node, and it is pushing out its new leaf. And it does look super white, and I can't remember what the name of this is. It's like Archipelago or something like that. But they stay like pretty white and they don't brown, which is interesting. The mother plant of this little guy was actually kind of like a minty, whitish, greeny color that was so, so gorgeous. I cannot believe that he sent this to me for my birthday and as an early birthday present, which is so sweet. But that is my Monstera adansonii variegata. How do I own this plant? I don't own this plant. There's no freaking way. All right, let's move on to the dresser now, and I'll show you the last couple plants. All right, we have now made it to the dresser where I'm going to show you my final 3 Monstera that I did not have the energy to pull off the shelf. So this huge plant right here is the second Monstera Albo I ever got. I got it as a base cutting. You can see where the original cut is right there. And since then it grew a couple leaves and I propagated it. So after this leaf right here, all the rest is new. And I'm so in love with this plant. It has grown so stunningly. Imagine from this leaf and this leaf to these gorgeous leaves up here. I am absolutely amazed. I love the watercolor marbling of this plant as compared to the sectoral of a lot of my other plants. So I'm absolutely in love with that one and we'll continue to grow it. I gave it a moss pole, a moss totem that goes all the way up to my ceiling. So now it has a ton of room to grow and I'm gonna try to let it grow there before getting too scissor happy. Moving over here is the first Monstera Albo I ever bought, and I have never cut this one or propagated it. I got it as another mid cutting, so it took a long time to grow, but now it has become a beautiful bush-like plant, and it actually started with these half moon leaves and then gave me these mirrored variegated leaves. And more recently, I had pushed out this all green leaf, which had me a little bit worried, but I always say to wait 3 or 4 leaves before cutting because look at this next leaf. It has a beautiful little variegated section and the back is even more variegated right there. So it gives me a lot of hope for this plant. I'm gonna let it grow and continue to push out new leaves to see what happens next. Very lastly, we have this Monstera right here. Let me move some plants around. Lastly, we have this variegated Monstera right here. This is the mother plant of a lot of those cuttings that you saw earlier. You can see where I cut it right down there, and since then it's given me these 2 beautiful leaves, still a lot wider than I would like to see on here. And this new leaf is not giving me a lot of hope, but still so beautiful nonetheless. I love when it gets this darker green shade with the mint and the light. So gorgeous. So I'm going to continue to let this one grow, and if it still stays too white, I will cut it back. The reason why I don't love leaves that are way too white is they tend to brown just like this because they lack chlorophyll. So they're not giving energy to the plant, I ended up actually taking energy from the plant. While it's so beautiful, I do really want some greener leaves, and we'll see what ends up happening with it. So beautiful nonetheless. All right, plant friends, I hope you enjoyed today's video and seeing my Monstera collection. If you did, give me a like down below and leave me a comment telling me which Monstera is your favorite and which ones I still need in my collection. I will see you guys in my next video, and I'd love any suggestions you guys have. Feel free to follow me on Instagram to see more regular planting content, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!